Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to talk about the official trailer that came out for season 2 of His Dark Materials. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But obviously, giving us a little more insight from the teaser trailer that we got. Obviously, you know, it seems like we get a little bit more with Will and Lyra in that other world. And just, I didn't feel like I really noticed it the first time, but I noticed it more this time. Because I watched the trailer a second time, I was like, there's like no one in that world. It seems like there's like one other person they end up meeting, potentially another boy or dude or whatever in that world, but it looks like the world's a little empty. And it almost seems like Lyra says something of the effect of like, there's something that happened in this world that we're connected to whatever happened here, because it was like maybe you know, whatever their situation is, it's taken them to this place where like history might end up, like what happened in that world might end up happening in the worlds they each came from, or I don't know what to make of that. It just seemed interesting, like I said, that there was like no one else in that world, but there's also those beings that they're being hunted down by, like that shadowy like creatures that it seemed like it took someone at one point in time, but then you see it later on kind of hunting them down. So it's like they gave them a specific name, and I'm like, what are those things? Like, are they the things that potentially wiped everyone out from that world? Are they a byproduct of what happened that led to that world being wiped out? Were those once humans that were turned into something? So many questions on that front. Also, we get a little more insight about this knife that can cut through dimensions. It seems like Will's dad made it, which also, like, when Lee met him, he's like, yeah, I've heard about your powers, and it's like you're acting like he's some kind of wizard, which I'm like, if he made the knife and like he's like, oh, don't worry about the wind, I guess he's able to kind of, either that's because of the air balloon situation he had already set up, like maybe he's not even like a wizard, maybe he's an alchemist, but maybe I'm like, you seem like you were just a regular scholar before, so it's like, how did this all happen? I'm assuming maybe his travels to the different dimensions, like maybe, you know, time works in differently in different dimensions, so maybe like it's been a lot more time than we think, or maybe it's the different worlds he went to that's kind of changed him in some shape or form for him to have been able to make that knife that cuts dimensions, you know. So that begs the question. And obviously we can tell from the trailer, it seems like Lee and him are going to be spending a lot of time together. Granted, they're both, you know, trying to track down Lyra. I don't know if he knows that Will is with Lyra though. So maybe he ends up finding out that's the case, and that's even more motivation for him to get involved. I mean, we got to know, like, what have you been up to this entire time? Maybe we'll kind of find out, you know, because I'm curious, like I said, it seems like the time frame of the show is going to be like it's immediately picking up after season 1, but I'm curious to see, like, you know, whether that ends up being the case or not. Obviously, I feel like based on what we saw in the trailer that the witches are going to be an even bigger part this season, because obviously it's like a lot of butting heads between them and the magistrate, because the magistrate wants to get control of all dimensions. Like, obviously we're the hierarchy power in this, and it's almost like they feel like it's their right to kind of control whatever dimensions and stop Lyra, who's a part of this prophecy, obviously, that the witches know about too. Her and Will are the key to all of this, and it's going to lead to some great war with them basically being at the center of it. So, and the magistrate willing to do whatever is necessary. So, like, we see them bombing at one point in time. I'm assuming that's them trying to kill the witches, because we even see at one point Coulter has like a witch, and she ends up killing her familiar. Not familiar. What was the word again? I'm blanking on the word for their, like, their creatures that everyone in this world has. Which also begs the question, you know, because that's the thing, like, Coulter, she's a witch too. Like, she's part of that group, so I'm sure that's a complicated thing in itself, especially that one witch is captured. It's like, you're one of us. Why are you doing this? Why are you working with the magistrate? And obviously Coulter has her own reasons. And I brought this up during the teaser. Obviously they make a point not to show you Azrael at all, so like whatever world Lyra and Will end up in, it's not the world that he's in, but it's like makes you wonder, where is he at? Like, obviously him and Lyra probably ended up in different worlds, but eventually their paths will cross. Now whether they'll be be in this season or not, you know, is a whole other question within itself. But I'm very excited to see what season 2 has in store for us. Like, obviously this gives us a little window without full context, and I'm sure we're obviously not seeing everything, but I'm curious to see how this story this season, you know, continues to unravel. Obviously this is you know, some of my thoughts about what we saw in the trailer. I'd love to get to know yours. What did you think about the trailer? You know, what are some things you think you'll see in season 2? What are some things you want to see? Just let me know. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.